I don't think you'll ever have 100% or you know what I'm saying, any type of certainty about it. The only person in the whole world who can have that is me. And I mean, for what it's worth, whoever did it, you know, you'll never have that. I don't think you will.
A criminal element of woodlawn.
Is that a real or a perceived?
Adnan knows a lot of things about, like, the effect of criminal activities. You're selling marijuana.
Off the wagon? I think it's off the wagon.
I think it's on the wagon.
Welcome back to At the Station, the show where we dig deep into pop culture trends in search of the hidden communities within. Today, we are visited by two guests as we debate the innocence of a man convicted of murder. Before we get into that, I'm Jay Zarecki. Alongside me is Nate Boris. This week on At the Station,
Cereal. AJ and Zach are here with us. AJ, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm AJ. I am working in an office right now. I do AV analysis, kind of set up conference rooms and whatnot for office type individuals.
Cool. Zach, what about you?
My name is Zachary Hall. Work in IT at my father's company, and that's pretty much all about me. That's all you get.
That works.
That's good. We were going to have a third guest, but as these things go, he hasn't been answering his phone all day.
Let's kind of do the basics. We're going to kind of base it not as a trial because we're no way lawyers, but each of us, me and Jay, are going to take a side. So Jay's going to pick innocent.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm fully behind innocent. I think last week I was on the fence. Sarah talks about it a little bit, how you're juggling guilty and innocent, and you don't know, you get to a standstill and you don't know what side you're going to be on. I think this week I've ironed out all my doubts, and I 100% stand beside innocent.
And I'm going to be on the guilty side. Zach is going to be the moderator for the show, and he's going to ask us questions, and we are just going to kind of venture off of those questions. Disclaimer, if you haven't listened to the Serial podcast, you're going to have no idea what we're talking about. So I highly suggest you go check that out. It's available on iTunes, Google Play. It's a really popular podcast. So, I mean, it's about 8 to 10 hours long, but it's really good. Totally worth it.
Once you start listening, you're hooked from the beginning.
It really doesn't even take that long to make it through, though. And like, she does the thing where at the end of every episode she puts a little cliffhanger on it, so you have to listen to the next one, you know?
Yeah, it's very well done. So yeah, disclaimer, if you haven't listened, go listen to that first. But aside from that, we're not going to do what we've done on past shows where we kind of dig into the weekend and stuff like that. It's straight Serial. So, I guess let's kind of open it up. Well, I want to lay there's a few facts that need to be known, and these are things that are 100% true based on factual evidence. Number one, Adnan Syed was convicted of murder. He is in jail right now for life. Number two, Hae Min Lee is definitely dead, and she was killed on January 13th, 1999. And the time of death that was anointed to that was at 2:36. So those three facts are cold, hard facts, factual evidence. We really can't go past that. Now there's conspiracies about those facts that we might go into, which one of them I have a theory on the time of death, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure like those facts are irresputable, and it's important because everything else in this case is kind of up for interpretation.
It is.
So as long as you know those three things actually are true, we're fine from there.
Right.
Someone murdered Hae Min Lee. Adnan's in jail for it. I'm going to explain why he's innocent. Nate's going to explain why he's guilty.
All right, so let's dive into opening statements. But first, before we do that, do you guys have any thoughts before going in? Like, what if you had to lean on mine or Jay's side? Which side would you lean on?
I mean, after listening to this podcast, and really, I haven't done any research on it besides listening to the podcast, so I don't know how skewed I am just from one person's research and insight on the whole thing. But I think in my heart of hearts, like she said, that he is guilty. But I don't think he should have been convicted. I think they did not have enough evidence to go on, and he should not be in jail right now for that reason. I think they could have built a better case.
Yeah,
I don't think he's guilty either. There's too many loopholes in it, and I don't know much about. There's a whole thing where the guy let him borrow his cell phone. I don't know who does that. Borrowing a car or something else like that. He seems to lend out a lot of stuff, and then I guess they broke up for a good while. And then he wrote a note on the back of it that said, "I'm going to kill."
Yeah.
I mean, that could be like he's about to spit fire or something. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Right.
And
That was my argument.
That note was after the fact too, because he was writing back and forth with another girl, right? And
Yes.
then like
Yeah, Jen.
she looked at it at a later date and was like, I didn't even know that was part of the note. Also, I just wanted to put in there too, as kind of a preface of my opinion. I think he is 100% a textbook sociopath, just from listening to him on the tapes.
Oh, you're blowing me up here. Like, that's my whole counter argument. Like, this dude is too nice to be a psychopath, sociopath. Like, I'm gonna warn you. I wrote this out, so it's a bit wordy, but let's just do this.
Oh yeah.
It's supposed to be our rights as American citizens that when faced with claims of criminal activity, we are to be innocent until proven guilty. Innocent. We are to be brought before a jury of our peers, and it is the duty of the accusers to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that we are guilty. This did not happen in the case before us. Yes, Hae Min Lee was murdered. It is true that Adnan has no substantiated alibi, but was he ever actually proven guilty? Sure, he was convicted. The jury voted unanimously that he was guilty, but the case that was placed in front of them was doctored since day one. The guy was never given a fair shake, and it's not the fault of one person, but the fault of many. No one acted in malice towards Adnan. They were all just trying to avenge the death of an innocent girl, but in doing so, they assumed the guilt of Adnan Syed. From day one, he was suspect number one. Before the detectives had any other witnesses, they had Adnan. Before they found Jay and Jen, they had Adnan. Sure, they looked into other possibilities, but as soon as those suspects had any sort of alibi, they were discarded. The cops already had their man. The star witness in this case is a liar. The evidence they used to verify his story is spotty at best. Hell, even the time of death cannot be accurately placed due to the weather conditions at the time of death. The cops had their man, and once they did, he was presented as guilty throughout. I have quite a task to go through tonight. It's not just my job to convince you that Adnan cannot be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I actually have to prove that he is innocent, and that there's only two really good ways of doing that. The first is to prove that there's no way he could be involved in the murder. The second is to prove to you someone else did it.
So that was crazy.
You want me to restate what I said?
No.
That was long.
We're gonna leave that all in there. But my opening argument is that he did it, and if he didn't do it, like she said in the last episode, he's the most unluckiest person on earth. He's the most unluckiest person on earth, and everybody who had part in that kept their secret, and it worked flawlessly. It had to have happened that way. It's all too coincidental and too close. I could get if there was a reasonable doubt of some of the things. A lot of it, you can't argue with that. I mean, it's my whole argument is that if I wanted him to be innocent, say I do want him to be innocent, right? Like in my heart of hearts, I want Adnan to be innocent. Who else did it? Who killed Hae?
So that is the task I have at hand today, though. I know I have on this sheet of paper here who killed him. I'm ready for it. We'll get around to that.
Okay. So then let's those are, I guess, our opening statements. Mine was kind of lackluster. I should have went first.
Oh man, I didn't do a damn thing at work today. Like, I have notes on notes from the past 3 weeks. I have typed up pages of statements. I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, let's go. Zach, are you ready?
All right. First question. You guys are going to have 5 minutes on the first one?
Yeah.
You guys want?
Yeah, we could do 5.
All right. So 5 minutes on the first question. Here we go. Jay Wilds acted as the star witness in the trial against Adnan Syed. Throughout the investigation and between trials, his accounts on the events have changed. The one fact he stays true on is Adnan killed Hae Min Lee. Do you believe Jay's statements that Adnan is guilty?
I'll take this one. This is the one item I've never been able to see past in this case, and the fact of that is Jay lies. It's undeniable. It's proven throughout. He's on tape saying one thing and then refuting it in the very next statement. Even from when it starts, the very first record we have of witness being interviewed is Jen. And she leaves conversation with the cops to go back to Jay, comes back with Jay's story. The next day, Jay comes in and gives a completely second story. And then by the time they get to the trial, he has a whole nother story altogether. Jay lies. He lied to Jen. He lied to the cops. He lied to the jury. Even his friends confirm him as a liar. Yet the stories that he gave are still used as evidence against Adnan. I don't think that we can use any parts of Jay's stories to implicate Adnan because Jay lies. I don't believe any part of his story, and none of it can be used as evidence. I would throw out his statements in a minute if I was on the jury.
Okay, so this is my thought process.
Yeah, go on.
I think everybody now listening to this podcast is older, correct?
Yeah.
So we are. It's really hard for us to perceive our age as what they are. So what I'm trying to say is we would. When we hear this story, we automatically assume, even though we know that they're younger, that they're our age, that they're using the same cognitive thinking that we're using right now at our age, correct?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, do you remember when you were 17?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So, do you remember at a time when we were 17, we were driving around in the back roads in a pickup truck. There were pop cans in the back of the pickup truck, and they flew out of the back, and they landed in this guy's yard, right?
Yeah.
And then he gets in his pickup truck, he chases us, and we pull to this kid's driveway, and we hide. And he comes out, and he starts yelling. Mind you, this guy isn't the police, correct?
No.
He's not an authoritative figure of any sort, correct?
He had a mustache.
That's true. He did have a sweet handlebar mustache.
No, I know what you're saying.
So
like
we were scared shitless
yeah.
of this guy and what he would do or tell our parents, correct?
Yeah.
And we weren't doing anything but throwing pop cans on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jay Wilde sells marijuana at the age of 17.
Yeah.
If you were 17 and you were a drug dealer, would you be scared of the fact that the cops know that you're a drug dealer?
I see where you're coming from. I still just don't buy it. Like, throughout, here's the problem. He tells one story to the cops to reduce his role and to cover up the fact that he sells drugs. He comes back later and says, hey, I was lying. Here's what really happened. There's 2 times after that he changes his story.
3.
In the retrial and in the Intercept interview. The Intercept
Here's my
interview
question on that,
happened
though.
15 years later when he already served his time, when Adnan's already in jail. He has no reason to lie at that point, and his statement's completely different. AJ?
You guys mind if I jump in really fast? So my point to that, his story changing is I want to know how much of that was altered by the actual interrogating police officers.
Well, that's one of the things that I feel too, because his first story is vastly different from his second, but his second follows the evidence trail, right?
Yeah, but that's because that's the evidence trail of what the officers laid out. So you got to think, going back to what Nate's saying, is you're this 17-year-old kid, and you have this authority figure scaring the shit out of you with this mustache, and you're scared of what he's going to tell your parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be like, dude, I was selling drugs and blah, blah, blah. I was doing this, and that. And the cops are like, dude, we're not going to get you for any of these, drug charges or anything. You just got to tell this story. We're going to put this kid in jail, and everything's going to be fine.
Okay.
So he's going to be like, all right, cool. I'm going to sit on the stand and do this.
So we know, that's a good explanation of why Jay said what he did. But why are we like outside of it still accepting his story as facts? Like, they're obviously made up by what Ritz and McGillivray like wanted. That's the thing, though. They aren't 100% truthful either. They picked and choose the evidence that they wanted to use.
That's not true. That's not true. Give me an example of a piece of evidence that they did not use.
They didn't test. Okay.
So mind you, they didn't
DNA
test her swab.
They DNA tested the bottle and then never entered the results.
No, they didn't.
They
Didn't test the bottle.
They did too.
They found cellular material on it, but they never tested it. They never tested the rope. So they found 2 fibers underneath her body.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't test those either.
But isn't that saying exactly what I'm saying? They found shit and they just did nothing with it.
There was some questionable things that they did, but okay.
No, I don't think that they did anything
Right.
wrong.
But
I don't think they're bad people.
Right.
I think they had tunnel vision and they didn't let anything else change their mind.
That may be. That's a theory.
We're trying to make a conviction.
So hold on. Before we go into the next question, because I think we kind of answered the first question.
I think
let's
let's
go. Let's just kind of run down the current list of theories that could have possibly happened.
I was watching a thing today, and they said the DNA testing, they did do it, and it didn't come back on him.
That's exactly what I just said. Well, no, 'cause that was the cellular structure of the bottle. They found things on it. They ran a test, and they never entered it into evidence.
Right.
They also did very little fingerprinting. They didn't run it against anything except Adnan
And Jay.
and Jay.
Which is the only two people that matter at this point. So hold on, quickly. Let's run down the quick list of theories. So theory number 1, Adnan did it
Yeah.
preemptively, like he had a plan ready to go,
Yep.
right? Theory number 2, Adnan did it in a fit of rage at a moment of desperation, not desperation, but just out of nowhere, and he got Jay to help him
So in this theory, Jay helped him after the fact or during the fact?
after the fact. And Adnan uses the fact that Jay sells weed to con him into helping him.
Well, that's the thing about Jay, isn't it? Like, he's so desperately afraid of the cops. When Adnan came to him, he just went along with
Right,
it. Yeah.
right. So that's 2. The third one is that somebody, not either one of them, did it. And in 99% of homicides, the person who is killed by somebody who is known to that person.
Okay, you listed 2. There's more people in this case,
No,
though.
I'm just saying. I'm just going down the list. This is another theory, that somebody else other than Jay or Adnan killed Hae.
Do you want to get into who those other people could be?
Yeah, go ahead. What are the other theories?
Don, Hae's current boyfriend.
Yep.
He, on the day she was murdered, he was working at a separate store that was managed by his mom. His time card was manually entered at the end of the day on the computer. So he really has no alibi. At the end of the podcast, during one of the last episodes, he comes on and he says, as soon as I heard she was missing, I wrote down where I was because I knew I was going to be convicted. Seems kind of coincidental, doesn't it?
A little bit.
You know who else they never looked into? His ex-girlfriend.
Interesting.
He broke up with his girlfriend the same time that Hae and Adnan broke up. But no one looked at her. No one checked her alibi. There was also a serial killer in town that was accidentally released from prison who targeted Asian women at the time that Hae was murdered.
And strangled them.
Yep. Murdered in the same way. The only thing about that guy that doesn't lean me towards him is I think he raped his victims.
He did.
And she was not raped.
She was not raped.
No sexual assault.
That they know of. That they know of.
But they swabbed.
Yes, but you can wear a condom. There was no
There's no DNA, but they didn't chest test for the.
I would assume that if there was a sexual assault, there'd be blunt force trauma.
There's a few things that I'm hard to grasp with trying to say that he's guilty.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that he was unscathed. And what I mean by that is I don't care how big you are and how little she may be. If you go to try to attack this person, she's going to scratch. She's going to claw. Something's going to happen. Like I feel like something that
like
she
when
would
she
try
fights back.
She would try to resist in some way with her fingernails.
Can I give you one on this?
Yes.
On your side, it was 6 weeks later that they picked him up. You know what I'm saying? But from the time everyone got arrested, from the time that she was murdered, there's a space of 6 weeks.
Right.
So like that gives you time to heal.
But she would still have stuff in her fingernails.
yeah,
Is
they
what I'm
didn't
saying.
test shit.
Yeah.
They're retarded.
Yeah.
They test her blood work, see if she's on drugs or anything.
She was on weed. Everyone was on weed.
All right, I'm making up a theory.
On anything else, a lot of people on Reddit were saying that it was possible that she was doing pills and stuff, and she got caught up in a drug deal gone bad. And that just seems really far-fetched.
It's possible.
Anything's possible. It's possible she could have bit it into a poison apple given to her by the Wicked Witch.
Ooh.
That didn't happen.
How do you know?
How
do you know?
When we now have a new timeline.
AJ, do you have any theories?
No, because I mean, except for the fact that it could be anything at this point. There's just really no solid facts. There's a story. There's multiple stories. There's this cell phone record that everybody's following the trail of. But I mean, they're just kind of building it on that. There could be, like that serial killer could have been out. He could have been out on the prowl. You brought up a good point with that bad drug deal gone bad. She could have been, here we go. Let's just go fly off the cuff here. She was driving Adnan, to go pick up some weed or something, trying to get a hold of it, calling some friends, and couldn't find any. So they're like, let's just go to a strip, pick something up from somebody we never bought anything from before. That goes bad. And then, that whoever's selling that kills her, and then he's part of it, and he's like sad that, he didn't do anything to help out. He cowered out. So then what's he going to do? I don't know, call the cops or something. But what happened? No, I was going to buy drugs. Once of those again. I don't know. Can
I add on to that for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
So I don't know if you realize this, but they mentioned it a couple times, the magnet program. The magnet program is an honor classes, like smart people, right? So she's an Asian student who is in
honors classes.
Yeah, honors classes. She has parents who are highly on her case to perform.
She's the stereotypical Asian.
Yeah, and think back, what do you know about movies? We know Empire Records, the girl in that who was the overachiever, stayed up 20 hours a day.
She took
smart
Adderall.
Adderall, popping pills. And where do you get pills when you're in high school? You got to buy them from the guy in the corner, right?
Yeah.
Junior, king of the hill.
Yep.
So
using them as fish bait.
So I'm willing to go down any crazy path you guys want. So she goes to a drug dealer. Why does this drug dealer strangle her as opposed to shoot her or stab her if he's gonna kill her?
Maybe he didn't mean to kill her. Maybe he meant to scare her.
Maybe he didn't mean to kill her. Interesting.
You want to hear my theory on it?
Yep.
Okay, so the Adnan guy. So he owes Jay money.
Yep.
He tells him, "My girl's got it." He tells her what she looks like, who she is, and all that. He goes and picks her up. She ain't got money on. She knows what he's talking about. So Jay, trying to get his wiener wet, gets her high. And then with her ambitions being lowered and she's less active, puts a move on her and starts turning into rape and starts to fight back. And then he probably strangles her too much and it kills her. So he calls the guy, Adnan, tells him, shows him the dead body, and then they agree to bury it and let it go.
Yeah. So you're saying that with Adnan's car and cell phone, Jay worked his way into Hae's car and murdered her there and then covered it up. Correct?
I thought Jay picked her up somewhere.
Well,
didn't he?
Well, here's the thing. She left from school to go pick up her cousin, but what she did in between. Okay. So the cousin stories.
So hold on. So the bell rings at 2:15.
Yeah, but the cousin story is weird because Adnan says two things. First, he says he would never ask her for a ride because she had to go pick up her cousin. Then he says she had plenty of time between the time she left school and she had to pick her up because they would go have sex in the Best Buy parking lot after school every day. So there was plenty of time that they had to go do that. So there was plenty of time between the time she left school and when she had to get on the highway.
All right, let's go to question 2.
Question number 2. During the first trial, Adnan's lawyer, Christina
Gutierrez,
was hostile with both the judge and the opposing counsel, whatever, forcing the judge to declare a mistrial. It was in the second trial that the jury found Adnan to be guilty. Do you believe the mistrial and retrial affected the outcome of the jury's decision or not?
So here's the thing. During the first trial, they were leaning innocent, but Christina Gutierrez was acting up and arguing with both the counsel and the judge, and he threw it out.
How do you know that, though? How do you know they were leaning innocent?
Okay, I guess I don't. Those are the notes that she has about the trial that Sara Koenig read.
Okay, can we just sidebar?
Yeah.
She's so biased.
She is biased.
And in love with Adnan. It's ridiculous.
She wants a piece.
She is so in love with him.
She is. You can see it though.
No, you can hear it.
Is in love with this guy.
You can hear it in her voice.
But he's a good-looking guy. I mean, I haven't seen him up close, but he's big and muscular. He has this nice voice. He's calm, and she's gonna save his life. So that's why she's into him. Why? If he did it, and there was a chance he was going to be found guilty, why would he agree to be on Serial? Why would he agree? Why would he agree to let the innocent projects pick it up?
AJ, what's the definition of a sociopath?
Hold on, let me pull it up. Well, just flying off the cuff here, sociopath is somebody. I'm gonna look up the definition because I don't want to be.
He spent 15 years in jail saying he was innocent. He's letting his parents pay. He's letting the mosque pay. He's letting Rabia go through all. Rabia has dedicated her life to him, and he's letting all these people do this for him.
He's an egotistical
If he was
sociopath.
guilty, he would have said no to Sarah. He would have said no to the appeal, because if they test any DNA and he did it, he just lost his whole life. He has a good life in prison. He has probably a better life in prison than he was going to have anywhere else.
Debatable.
He has friends. He works out. He follows his religion. He has a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has it good where he's at. There's no... Well, you're saying he's a sociopath. That skews everything completely. But how many sociopaths do you really think exist in this world?
Well...
Like, what do you think is the content? Like, one in how many?
I would say probably like 1 in 1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a lot of people.
Well, it's possible.
I don't know. I just don't buy it. I just think that it's an easy stamp to put on it to excuse the actions of somebody who otherwise looks innocent.
So to answer the question, I don't think that it mattered. I just think she was a bad lawyer. I think I agree with Rabia for once on this. I think she threw the case in order to get more money at the appeal, and she just did a bad job. And then obviously her health was declining.
That's what I was going to get.
Her mental awareness was declining. I mean, that's pretty relevant if you're a lawyer, no?
Yeah. Well, for some reason throughout the show, Sarah refuses to address it.
Because she's naive and biased.
But no, here's the thing. Christina lost the case, and she lost plenty of cases after that. And then she died of MS.
Yes.
Like, not that many years later.
2 years, she completely lost function of her memory.
She was disbarred a year after that. So is it possible that she just couldn't take on the case? Is it possible that she was once this great lawyer and she screwed everything up? The thing about the mistrial, go back to that for a second. The thing about the mistrial was during the first trial, he came in to be convicted and he had an open slate. During the second trial, he's already being seen as guilty.
Time out. You know why it was a mistrial, right?
She got the case thrown out.
Who did?
Christina.
You know why,
she was
though, right?
arguing with the judge and the prosecution.
But you know why?
Why?
Because Ulrich, the prosecutor,
Mm-hmm.
appointed Jay's lawyer.
Well, yeah, it was around the same time she found that out. But
No, that's why the case was thrown out. The case was a retrial because Kevin Ulrich.
No. They wanted to put in some evidence. They wanted to bring some evidence forth, and she said, after that fight that you're talking about already happened, she says, well, I never got to see that. And the judge said, yeah, you did. You said it could be entered into evidence. And she said, well, I never had time to read it. And he said, well, now you're lying. And then they threw the whole case. It was clear as day in Serial. It's episode, the case against Anad Sayed, I swear to God.
Interesting.
Listened to all of them this morning. Anyway.
All right, question.
She messed up because she got sick and died.
Yeah, AJ, go ahead. Go ahead. What's a sociopath?
Some of my sources here, WebMD, and I'm looking at healthyplace.com. I'm not sure if that's whatever. But anyway, a lot of stuff that I'm finding is there's a big argument on like whether they have a conscience or not. But I think the key points that I'm finding in all these sites that I'm looking at is that they are antisocial people that create alternate realities and then live by those realities as like an actor, like they're acting it out. I mean, I can see him now that I'm reading through this. I don't know if he's a textbook sociopath, but I can see him totally like believing himself at this point.
Right.
The point where he's lying, and he is not antisocial by any means.
No, he's like...
So
he's the most popular guy in the prison. So I guess what we really need to decide is... if he's guilty, is he also a sociopath? Or is this all just an unlucky happenstance? Right?
Right.
Why don't we take a break and get back into the second half of the episode in a few minutes?
Yeah.
All right.
right, so we're back.
I think we're doing pretty good. We've been doing kind of a free-for-all that starts with questions. Let's just keep that flow going.
All right, let's go. Question 3.
Here we go. To this day, Adnan has stood by his claim of innocence. With the new trial coming up, he has even agreed to blood testing not done in the original investigation. How do you guys feel about Adnan's steadfast claims of innocence?
Can I ask you a question off that question?
Yeah.
So I wrote in there about the blood testing, and then I think I might have been wrong about that. Do you know if that's true? That he agreed to blood testing being done?
Yes.
He did. Okay. So my whole thought here is, admittedly, Adnan's a poor liar. He's really bad at it. He does not get away with anything he lies about. He lied to his parents about dating, and they knew it the whole time. They even pulled him out of the dance when he was the king. He lied about smoking weed, and that is not a surprise to anyone that he was a pothead. As long as he stayed good in school, no one cared. And then even the part where he's really embarrassed about stealing from the collection plate, he thought him and his friends were getting away with it, and the priest knew all along, but he just figured, like, boys are boys, so who cares? As far as I'm concerned, Adnan's claim of innocence is more telling than any detail he's given to clear his name, because he's not lying about it, because he can't lie. What do you think about that?
I mean, I agree. He's not the best. He's very persuasive. Is he not?
He's good at deflecting. He's not good at lying, and he's not persuasive. He's good at deflecting.
No, he's very good at. I don't know. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Okay, what about this part? While he's been in jail, he's switched over to being like a good Muslim, like he follows his faith. He even says to Sarah, like, for the first time in my life, I'm living as a good Muslim should. So he also says that he could have told his parents 15 years ago that he murdered Hae, and by now they would have accepted it and moved on, and he would have been able to repent. But he hasn't said that. So if he spent the last 15 years of his life eating the correct diet, praying when he's supposed to, taking efforts to help others, staying away from premarital sex and drugs, which he doesn't really have an option there, but whatever. But like, if he spent this last 15 years doing that in order to follow his faith, and he did murder Hae, he's still lying. And like, at this point, he's hit bottom. Like, he's in prison for the rest of his life. He's at bottom. He has nothing else to lose but his soul. So if he's going to continue to lie to his God when he thinks he has no life left, like, there's something messed up about that.
Yeah. I mean, but he also steals money from the church, too.
We already talked about his age, though. They were like 15 when that happened.
He's 17.
No, he was 17 when he murdered Hae. You think that he was stealing from the church at the same time that happened? There's all things that happened during school. I just think that due to the fact that he's never let up, and due to the fact that he's such a dedicated Muslim now, he cannot still be lying about it. He could have repented 15 years ago and gone to heaven. But like, if he's lying about it still, he's never going to heaven. So what is he doing?
He's too far in. He can't not.
But okay, so did you even listen to what I said?
No,
do you buy
did.
it? Like, do you think that that's a good, or do you have anything to refute about those claims? I think he's a terrible liar, and I think that due to his religion, he cannot still be lying. Otherwise, if he's still lying at this point, he is a sociopath. Like,
Thank you.
There's no way around it.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
I'm not on the page that he's a sociopath, though.
I thought you said he was innocent, Jay.
I do think he's innocent. I don't think he's lying.
You don't think he's lying about... Okay, so what part do you not think he's lying about? That he had nothing to do with it, or that...
I don't think he's ever lied. He never said... He's always said, I've had nothing to do with it. He's always said, I'm innocent. He also says, I have no way to defend myself because I don't remember that day because nothing important happened. Like, I did not do anything on that day. Like he's completely exonerated from all of it. He's not involved at all.
When people say that he does not remember that day, they are stretching the truth to a degree.
All right, let's talk. 6 Mondays ago, January 23rd, 2017. What did you do?
So, okay, well, hold on. This year, right?
6 weeks ago.
Okay, so what was the day?
Monday,
January
23rd.
Hold on.
We did not record that day.
I can do this. I can do this. So if it was 6 months ago,
Weeks.
6 weeks ago,
January 23rd.
I was at work. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So I woke up 8 o'clock,
Okay.
went to work, got there at 9, clocked in at 9, went on break.
See, but you don't know any of this.
I do know
You're just
this.
assuming by your normal schedule,
Yeah, that's your
What
routine.
route did you take to work that day?
right?
What?
What route did you take to work that day?
53.
Well, he always takes 53.
What happened on 53? Did you notice anything particular? Was it raining? Was it sunny?
It was
Yeah,
snowing.
What was the weather like?
It was
that day?
snowing.
I doubt it was snowing.
It was snowing. Check the weather forecast.
All right, are you
I can't
ready?
think of anything.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Monday, January 23rd. Oh, it's not going to give me if it snowed or not. It was 43 degrees.
Definitely didn't snow.
Ask Jeeves.
Okay, so I was wrong. Okay, so what are you trying to prove?
I'm trying to prove that. So what you're saying is that he, quote, doesn't remember anything. How convenient. Yet 6 weeks ago, you have no idea what you did that day. You want me to tell you what I did that day? I looked it up on Google Location Services. Ready?
Yep.
I went to work.
Uh-huh.
I met my wife at Bona Beef for lunch. I went back to work and I went home. Can I tell you anything about that day? No, not at all. Not even in the slightest.
What
But
do you eat?
But let's
I don't
let's
know.
pull this-
But
let's
that's
pull
what I'm
this
saying.
into
I
it.
have Google tracking me and I still don't know what I did that day. 6
did-
weeks ago.
Did somebody go missing that day?
But she
that you
didn't.
know.
But
Was
she
there
didn't go
specific-
missing that day to him, because what happened was he got a call from the cops and they said, "Hey,
And
we
that's
can't
not significant.
we can't find. Hey, have you seen her?" And he was like, "Nope, I can't. I haven't seen her. I'm also high as hell."
Okay.
The next day, it was a snow day, then a weekend, and so by the time and then it was like President's Day, Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
So there was 4 days in between that.
Yeah, but that's two significant things that stick out in somebody's memory. At least in my memory, if I remember the snow day and I remember some cop calling me asking me a question, I'm gonna think about those days. Especially if the cop's questioning me. Have you seen her?
He went to school, got high, went to track practice, got high, and went home. That was his day. How many days do you remember where you went to work, got high, and went to bed?
Are you asking me personally? Because I
I'm-
don't smoke weed.
I'm asking in general. I am asking in general.
I've never
Nothing
I've
stuck
never-
out for him because he didn't do anything.
You have no proof that
Yes.
I smoked weed.
But
Yeah.
what about all the people that he interacted with that day that said he was acting strange and they were in the same
No,
lifestyle?
no. There's one liar who said he was acting strange.
What about
It
what's
was
her name?
Kathy. I hate Kathy. Here's why I hate Kathy. You know how we just went through the exercise of what happened 6 weeks ago? No one asked her that 6 weeks ago. They asked her that 15 years after the fact, right?
Right.
Sarah called her and she said, "What happened on that day?"
That's not true.
And
That's
she
not
goes
true.
through. She said, "Adnan said this.
That's
he
not
was
true.
wearing this.
That's not
Jay
true.
said this. They went here.
That's
This is
not-
what I was eating."
that's
How
not-
do you remember, Kathy?
That's not true because there's police recordings of her. There's police testimony of her.
She's a liar.
No.
She's attention seeking
No.
and she's a liar.
Nope. She has no horse in the race. She has no
all
reason to
hearsay.
lie.
Objection, hearsay.
Which one, both? I do not like her. I feel like she is just butting in to butt in. In the podcast, she comments about, "Oh, there had to be something going on because Jen tells me everything, and she wouldn't talk
So-
to me that day." Why does Jen have to tell you everything?
Let's put a spin on that. So she hears Adnan say, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna say? Who am I gonna go
You want me to explain
You
that
want
one?
to know what was really going on? It's Aisha telling him that the cops are gonna call.
Yeah.
So he's telling her, "Oh my God, why? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say?" So instead of it seeming like he's guilty it seems, in her mind, it seems like he's guilty or he's trying to get away from it.
Yeah, because she's thinking about it after the fact.
What he's saying is just like, why would you do that? What am I supposed to say to these cops? I don't know.
I'm really high. How am I supposed to talk on the phone with the cops? I'm a 17-year-old kid who's high with the cops calling me. She also makes a big deal about how he says, "How do I get rid of a high?" Does she remember when he says that?
Yes.
When does he say it? Before or after the cop call?
Before.
So Aisha calls him. He says, "Why did you tell the cops to call me? I'm way too high for this." He then turns to them and say, "How do I get rid of a high? I really have to do something," aka talk on the phone with the cop.
Yeah.
The cop then calls him and he answers. If he had killed her, he would have just shut off his phone then and dealt with it when he was sober.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So this was a big thing for the podcast itself, and I kind of want to hear you guys' take on it. The Nisha call.
Okay. You go first, because I have a hot take on this one.
I just think this is very simple. I don't care who had the phone or where it was.
But it's important. It's relevant.
He had a Nokia cell phone.
Yes.
How speed dial worked on that is you would assign somebody to a number, and then to call them, you would push and hold down on that number until it dialed the person. The Nisha call could very easily be a pocket dial, which then just was open in the pocket until you check it and say, "Oh shit, I called somebody," and hung up.
Or how many times have you called somebody on accident with a Nokia phone? Did you ever have a Nokia phone like that?
We had phones similar, and I have to assume it was all the time.
Yeah, especially when we were wrestling around or we were fighting with each other, struggling with things in our pockets.
So you're saying it's possible it could be a butt dial or a pocket dial.
Right, but in not just like you walking and it dials in your pocket. I'm talking like me, like an altercation.
So the person doing the murder.
Carrying the body.
Right.
Or carrying the body, or stuffing him into a trunk, or strangling her to death.
Yes.
So who is that that's doing it?
Adnan.
How is it Adnan? Jay had the phone at that time.
What time?
Adnan was at track practice.
What time was that?
3:40.
Okay, so let's...
You might want to
There's
verify
another
that.
one at 9:01.
What?
I'm
The
looking at
901 call was at the end of the day after he realized that he had pocket dialed her. He calls her to talk.
You're talking about the Nisha. We're talking about the Nisha call.
We're talking about the first Nisha call at 3:40.
Yeah, so the
3:32.
3:32. Track practice ends
2
at
minutes,
5.
22 seconds.
Yeah.
Which,
so-
interestingly enough, all right, so there was a Gen Home call right before that at 3:21.
So maybe it is a pocket dial. But so
That's what I don't get. Everyone's so stuck on that call, but it could so easily be a pocket dial.
No, okay, so whatever it is, it is, okay?
Yep.
The Nisha call is irrelevant in my mind, and this is why. She gives a testimony that she talks to Adnan, and then Adnan hands the phone over to Jay. Now, she says they're at the video store. She explicitly remembers Adnan saying they're at the video store. Jay didn't have the job at the video store until the end of January, and Hae went missing on January 13th. So maybe that call is not the same call. The Nisha call that's on the call log, the 3:32 Nisha call, is not the same call where she talked to Jay and Adnan. So it doesn't place Adnan and Jay together at the same time. The Nisha call is irrelevant.
That's my point exactly. I don't think it. Overall, I don't think the cell phone record really matters.
It does, and I'm going
does
to tell
not.
you why.
Let's talk about the cell phone record.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get into that question. So the cell phone records were used extensively throughout the course of the case. Many times these records were used to pinpoint exact moments when Adnan had to be in the exact location he needed to be in order to fit the theory of the case. How did the cell records affect your guys' outlook on this case?
All right, so the cell records are a huge, huge part because it is really the only thing the state has to go off of. So I'm going to kind of start at the bottom. The first two calls starting at midnight are both to Hae. Now, if you look...
This is the day she went missing?
This is the day she went missing.
So
now,
12 a.m. on the 13th.
Right, but I'm going to actually have you look at the first call on 1/12/1999. So that was the day that Adnan got the cell phone.
Okay.
Adnan got the cell phone on January 12th, 1999. If you look, the first call that is called is Nisha. Okay? And this is the girl from Silver Springs. Now, I wanted you to look at the top call. Number 1 call, 11:27, 2 seconds, and that call is to Hae. That call is going to her landline. We know, based off Don, that Hae is with Don.
Wait, Hae's with Don where?
At his house.
At his house.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But Adnan called Hae's
House.
her house.
Right.
Okay.
So if you look now at the first call at the bottom, it's 12 a.m. 2 seconds. Nobody answers. It's not Hae because she's not there. She's at Don still.
Mm-hmm.
The next call, 12:35 a.m. 1 minute, 24 seconds. He gets a hold of her. He tells her, "This is my new cell phone number. I want you to write it down." In her diary, she wrote down his cell phone number. This is fact. It's in there.
Yeah.
Up until this point. So up to call 33, we're on the same page. I only know
You want to go? Wait, go. Let's talk. Go up to the next one. What time's that at?
that is at 10:45 a.m.
That is during school.
Technically, yes, it's during school.
Adnan had free periods.
Correct.
He had plenty of time to go do whatever he wanted.
Right.
This is after Adnan had supposedly given Stephanie her gift, and he wanted to go and tell Jay to buy a gift for Stephanie, his girlfriend.
This is correct. So supposedly, this is Adnan calling Jay to say, "Hey, if you'd like, you can have my car, you can have my cell phone, you should go get a gift for Stephanie for her birthday, and come and pick me up after track practice."
And that is what he says.
Correct.
After track practice.
Correct.
So you're talking any call after that, Jay has the cell phone.
Correct. So now let's look. Jen, home. Who would have called that? Jay.
Jay.
So second call. Jen, home. Who would have called that?
Jay.
All right. So now we've got 3 calls now in the middle.
Which
Okay.
either went to voicemail or doesn't look like they were. The first one, it looks like it might have been answered. Nope.
So yeah. So the first one looks like it was answered. The second one is is supposedly the smoking gun call. That's the call that is the bullet in Adnan.
Oh, that, "Hey, come get me. The bitch
Yes.
is dead."
According to the state, this is not my theory. This is according to the state's testimony. It's that call, number 28, is the call that
What time's that at?
It is at 2:36 p.m. It's the call that Adnan is supposedly calling Jay from the Best Buy payphone, telling him to come and pick me up. I'm at Best Buy. There's already a fact, or not fact, but a girl gives testimony that she's seen Hae, a girl that was supposed to co-manage a wrestling team with her, that said that she was talking to Hae on January 13th from anywhere between 12:30 or from 2:30 to 2:45, because she was supposed to be trained by Hae at this wrestling meet.
So you're saying that she's
Hae's
alive,
Hae's
and
still alive.
that can't be Adnan calling to say he killed her.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is not that call. Now, let's go up to the next call. 3:15. That's the call that Adnan calls and tells him to come and pick me up. You have a whole 45 minutes in between there where the job could have been done.
Okay,
So now let's continue.
go on.
Jen.
Who would call Jen?
Jay.
So Adnan called,
Yep.
but now on the next call, Jay still has the phone.
Jay still has the phone.
So this is 5 minutes later.
Yep.
So another 10 minutes goes by.
Correct. The next call is Nisha. We only know that the call went to Nisha, correct?
There's no reason to speculate that Jay was there or Adnan was there or Jay wasn't there. It's just a call.
But the only person that call would have been made to would have been from Adnan.
Says who?
Because Jay doesn't know Nisha.
It doesn't matter if he knows her or not. It could have been an accidental call.
For 2.5 minutes.
Pocket dial.
Yeah.
Hangs up after 30 seconds.
Not if she answered on her end, too.
No voicemail.
No, not if she answered and heard the pocket going and didn't hang up for 2 minutes.
For 2.5 minutes?
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Probably for at least 30 seconds or so.
For 2.5 minutes?
I don't know. I just...
Would you guys let stay on the phone for 2.5 minutes?
It's just speculative information that you're coming in and you're saying Adnan's guilty. I have this record and look, this proves that he's guilty because I already think he's guilty and this proves it.
Okay, no,
But
no,
if
no,
you're
no.
looking at it unbiasedly, saying these are calls made, we don't know who made them. You can't then turn around and say this has to be Adnan because Jay doesn't know Nisha. Like,
Well, no, I'm just presuming.
who? How did Adnan meet Nisha? Do we know that?
Through a party, I believe.
Because the next two calls are to Phil and Patrick. Who are they?
Jay's friends. Well,
About
Phil.
10 minutes apart.
Yeah, and Phil
Those
is
are Jay's weed buddies?
yeah. Well, Phil is the guy that gets weed, and Patrick is the guy that lives with Kathy.
That's why they went to Kathy's. That's a sidebar, because he was selling him weed. Anyway, I don't buy that the Nisha call has to be Adnan calling her.
It doesn't, but it makes the most sense.
But there's no proof behind it.
There's no proof behind any of this, though.
No. I think the call log should have been thrown out because you can use it. You can use the call log to manipulate the facts of the case in any way you see fit.
It's true.
And it's a problem. And
All
it's
right.
what the state leaned on the whole entire time.
Let's go to the next question. We're not going to get anywhere on the call log.
Okay, after Adnan was arrested, most of his classmates believed that if the police made an arrest, that Adnan must be guilty. This caused some of the witnesses who would have contradictory evidence, like Asia McClain,
Mm-hmm.
step back and involve themselves in the case. Throughout Serial, Sarah has brought up several of these people, including Adnan's friends at the mosque.
Temple.
That's right. And are there any statements in particular not made during trial that's why you're thinking one way or another?
So what we're saying in this case is throughout Serial, she interviews plenty of people who did not go up on trial. Do you have any specifics that sways your thinking one way or another?
Mistaken.
Asia McClain provides a pretty good alibi given the state's view of the case. According to the state,
The only
Adnan murdered Hae within 21 minutes of the end of the school day.
Yep.
Yet Asia claims that not only did she see Adnan, but he talked to her boyfriend and his friend at the same time.
which they have no recollection of.
Well, no, they don't. But like she's filling out like, hey, I saw this guy on this day at this time. Here's what happened. There's no way to prove it, but I mean that's a statement. The other one was like the kids at the mosque.
That say that he showed up late.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. Yeah.
So who do you think killed Hae?
I have a little statement here. I think that depending on how you bend the evidence, you can come up with any number of people who killed Hae. It could have been Adnan. It could have been Jay. It even could have been during the trial. Christina Gutierrez like really implicates that Jay is cheating on Stephanie.
She doesn't say that. What does she say?
Stepping out. Are you stepping out? If you were to step out. So she heavily implicates that. What if Hae went to Stephanie and said, Jay's been cheating on you. And Stephanie says, how come you let this go on for so long? You're just like everyone else. And they had a fight. What if she went to Jen and Jen said, it's none of your business. And they had a fight. What if she wasn't killed by any of those three? What if it was her current boyfriend, Don, who she was actually on her way to go see and it has an alibi, but it's flimsy as best? Or what if it was her Don's ex-girlfriend, like I said earlier? No one looked into her. It could have been the serial killer. It could have been the gym teacher. It could have been Sara Koenig come back from the past to murder her just so we could have a podcast. It could have been any number of people. And just because this line of evidence fits Adnan doesn't mean it wouldn't fit other people.
Jay knew where the car was.
How do you know that only Jay knew where the car was? And that you're talking 6 or at least a month after the fact. Jay drives up and down those streets to pick up weed all the time. He could have seen it at any moment in time.
Jay knew where the car was.
That only proves one thing to me.
What?
That Jay did it.
You think Jay did it?
You want to get into closing statements?
Well, let's hear from them. What do you think, AJ?
You know, I've been spending a lot of time here looking at the call records on this map here. And the thing that's really sticking out to me, and I don't know if it was ever discussed on the serial. I don't recall it, but maybe you guys might know. So, all right. So the timeline goes roughly, all right, the call comes, hey, she's dead. Come pick me up from Best Buy. And that's supposedly from Adnan. Jay's going to pick him up at Best Buy, which if you're looking at the map right now is pretty close to the high school, all hitting that cell tower L651. And then looking at the map, if you go far to the right, about halfway between the high school and Baltimore, there's the intersection where Adnan shows Jay Hae's body. Why would you go all the way out there? And then why would you park the car?
That's by Lincoln Park.
Why would you park the car there? And then why would the body be at Lincoln Park? That just doesn't make any sense. Did they touch on that at all?
That is far away. That is such a strange place for him to show. Does that even make sense though? Because I thought he showed it at Best Buy.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed through the whole podcast. But now that I'm looking at this map and just kind of studying,
it's weird because you listen to the original statement and it was at Best Buy. You listen to Jay's friend that Sarah interviewed and
he says it's in front of a pool hall.
In front of a pool hall where I'm assuming Jay sold weed out of.
So, and then the police... See, this says Jay told the police in the first interview that Adnan showed him Hae's body in the trunk of her car here, which is over here. And I believe this is by Edmonton Avenue. Or Edmonton Avenue, which is like where drug dealers... Like the strip of drug dealers.
That is where that is.
So, that's where he initially told the cops. Now, the second story he told them was at Best Buy. To match Jen's story. Now, in the Inceptor interview, he says that it was he popped the trunk at his grandma's house.
Here's my facts of the case. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for my closing statement. I'll try to be brief. So here we are. We made it to the end. And there's still just one question left. The big burning question. If Adnan is innocent, who killed Hae Min Lee? I wish I had a bombshell for you. A big reveal. I wish I could tell you the real murderer was the new boyfriend. Or maybe it was his ex-girlfriend, the stilted ex-lover on the other side. Maybe it was Jen all along. Or maybe that serial killer that was released on accident. I wish I had something good to tell you. But the truth of it all, the big reveal, it was Jay. It's always been Jay. And unlike the assumptions made that in order to still claim innocence that he would have to be a sociopath, the difference here is that Jay is just a liar. I know what you're thinking and even screaming to yourself. How could it be Jay? What's the motive? And that's where everyone gets hung up. But my question to you is, why does there have to be a motive? What if the murder wasn't premeditated? What if it was just a crime of passion and then a cover-up? A cover-up made so easy by the fact that everyone else had already decided who the murderer was. It's easy to admit that you helped and take the plea if the truth is that you did it. And you did it all on your own. Let's walk back through January 13th.
Are you going to do the whole story?
I don't know. Let's walk back through January 13th, 1999. Let's sort through all the lies and the inconsistencies. Let's retell the story from Jay's point of view. Now, I'll admit to you, I made a little bit of assumptions here, but no more than the assumptions that are needed to make to prove anyone else is the murderer, and much less than is what needed to have Adnan be guilty. January 13th, 1999. Jay has Adnan's car and cell phone.
What time?
What is the explanation here? Why does Jay have the car and the cell phone?
What time? What time are we talking?
I'm getting to it.
Okay.
They both claim that they weren't good friends, and no one knows them as good friends. The truth is, Adnan had bought weed from Jay. The reason Adnan was at Jay's house wasn't to remind Jay to pick up a gift for Stephanie. It was to buy weed. The problem is, Jay needed to make a pickup that day, but he doesn't have a car. So instead, he offers to comp Adnan a bag if he lets Jay use his car to pick up the weed. Adnan offers Jay his new cell phone so Adnan can be sure to get a ride back after practice. From here, Adnan returns to school and doesn't leave until track is over. That's why Asia is so sure she saw Adnan at the library, because he was really there the whole time. They did flirt and they did run into her boyfriend. He never left. However, Jay spent the whole day taking the scenic route. And then I got some timestamps here. So Jay drops Adnan back off at school at 12:07. He then calls Jen while driving back to his dealer's place. This is on the corner of Garrison Boulevard on the east side of Lincoln Park, downtown Route 40. No. So at 12:07 he goes and buys weed. He calls Jen first, she doesn't answer. He goes out and buys weed. On his way back, he calls Jen again, and then they hang out for about an hour doing whatever they do. After that, he heads back out towards town, and at some point, probably around 2:40, find 2:40 on the call.
Incoming call 2:40 or 12:40.
Yeah. So no. So 12:44, Jay calls Jen again, driving back from his dealer's place. They hang out for about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Then at 2:36, he gets an incoming call, which he doesn't answer.
Who's the incoming call from 12:43 that he talks to?
I don't have that on here.
It's right here.
Where do you see that?
Right here.
And then what about before that? So he calls Jen's home at 12:40.
Yep.
He has an incoming call. He doesn't answer. Goes to voicemail.
No, he does answer it.
It's 24 seconds long.
But then how can the smoking gun call be only 5 seconds?
He doesn't answer. That's not a smoking gun. There's nothing going on at that point.
That's the call that the state says that Adnan said, "Come pick me up. I'm at Best Buy."
Adnan was never at Best Buy. Adnan was at the library with Nisha, and then he was at track practice. Adnan never left. These calls mean nothing. So after he drives back, he stops at the Shell station at 2:40. The Shell station is located right before the highway near the Best Buy. During that time, Hae, who was heading that way from school to get onto the highway, pulls into the Shell station. She sees Adnan's car and approaches it. Instead of finding Adnan, she finds Jay. Jay offers to smoke her up. They get into her car and they drive around the corner. That's where they start having a talk. That's where she gets in on Jay for cheating on Stephanie. That's where she accuses him of being a liar, and that's where she says he's not good enough. He, in a fit of rage, starts choking her, and before he knows it, her body's gone limp. Jay's had priors before. He was arrested the year prior for abusing his ex-girlfriend. So don't say it's crazy for Jay to do it, because he has a prior conviction. Then in his car, he pulls out and starts looking to where to go. That's where he sees the Best Buy and remembers that Adnan told him that there's a secluded parking lot that he and Hae used to have sex. He pulls her out of the car and pops her in the trunk, and that's where he has the image of her being in the trunk. Not because somebody showed him, because he put her there. He then drives to Patapsco State Park, something that was in the original testimony but never brought up again. He drives there to dump her body. There's cell records of Patapsco State Park. But
where's that at?
That's in the bottom. That's the bottom red dot.
That one.
So are you getting him at Platebo Park or whatever? It's
Patapsco.
7-ish?
Yeah,
No, I'm putting him there. I'm putting him there at.
He's pinging the tower with an incoming call at 6:07.
No. Six comes after he picks up.
All right, continue.
He heads out to Patapsco State Park.
Yeah.
To bury Hae. He drives around and decides that there's too many people there, and he'll have to do it. He'll have to do it later. That's when he heads to the park and ride. He parks Hae's car at the park and ride and calls Jen to come pick him up. Jen lives 5 minutes away. She picks him up. In that time that they're driving together is when she mentions to the cops that he was acting weird. They head back into town, and he gets the call from Adnan, "Hey, track practice is over. Come pick me up." They go to Best Buy and get Adnan's car. He picks up Adnan.
Whoa, wait. So you're saying they go to Best Buy. Jay goes to Best Buy.
Jen drops Jay off at Best Buy to pick up Adnan's car.
Okay.
He had left it at Best Buy after he killed Hae. He took Hae's car to go bury her, couldn't figure her out, left her in the trunk at the park and ride.
Okay.
Gets dropped back off at the car.
Okay.
Dre drives back to the school and picks up Adnan. Adnan pays little attention to Jay because his goal now is to get as high as possible before he needs to be anywhere else. It's Ramadan and Adnan is fasting. This, along with a workout from practice, causes him to get severely stoned. They head to Kathy's house to sell Patrick weed. Does that sound right? Adnan is messed up. So when he gets the call from Aisha, he panics and doesn't know what to do. He asks them, "How do I get rid of a high?" Because he now has to talk to the cops, something a 17-year-old boy doesn't want to do at all, especially when he's stoned.
Then why wouldn't he just turn his phone off?
Because he didn't do it. He's completely innocent. Adnan has nothing to do with this at this point. He has no idea what happened while Jay was away. After that, Jay calls Yasser to check in to see if he has to go deliver food to the mosque to his dad. He finds out that they don't have to, and they tool around for a little bit.
Why does Jay call Yasser?
No, Jay and Adnan are together at this time.
So Adnan calls Yasser.
To check in to see if he has to drop off food with his dad. So from there they leave again, and they tool around and smoke weed. They do almost nothing. After 8 o'clock, they stop at McDonald's. They're 17-year-old kids. They call their friends. They look for weed. They tool around. At 8 o'clock, they stop at McDonald's so Adnan can eat because he's been fasting all day. At the end of the day, Adnan takes his car and leaves. Jay calls Jen and asks for another ride out to the park and ride. And the rest is off the record, but he had a whole month to bury Hae. Whether or not he did it that night is none of our business.
That's
Wait, so
interesting.
you left Hae's body in Adnan's trunk while
No. He at the gas station, he got in Hae's car. And he murdered her in there and then took off from there into the Best Buy parking lot where
and
he
left
put
her
her
in the trunk of her
car.
Gotcha.
I mean, here's the thing. Adnan has no memory of the day because let's go back a sentence. When Jay was questioned by the police, he knew what story to tell because he was there for all of it. Sometimes he forgets the details from where he switched his names with add-ons. He forgets the things that he added, but he knows the story. Adnan has no memory of the day because all he did that day was go to school and get high. Nothing of interest happened to him simply because he didn't do it. The person who did was the self-proclaimed criminal element of Woodlawn, Jay Wilde. And that's my statement.
That was pretty good.
Preach.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Do you have a
Just
closing
solid
statement?
State story. Probably more solid than the state story.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The thing about it is, I dropped the ball on following the pings. 90% of the story follows the cell phone pings.
But it's got to follow 100% because Jay's does.
Jay's is just as flimsy though.
At what part?
Each side are. It doesn't. We discussed it. Like it doesn't matter who called who. The Nisha call still happened. It happened while he was putting Hae's body in the trunk. He butt dialed her. I forgot to mention that part. Every call on the log makes sense. Every call could either have been made by Jay or Adnan.
Okay, so hold
time.
on. Let's back up. So the Hae, Jay.
Jay didn't have the phone till 10.
Right.
So where's 10?
Calls Jen.
Calls Jen.
Calls
Jen. 3 incoming calls. He may have answered 1.
Okay. Well, no. It looks like he answered all 3.
So are you sure he didn't answer and say, yeah, this is Jay, and doesn't have his phone? Sorry.
That might have been the 236, but the other one's 20 seconds. The other one's 24.
All of them are answered calls because they don't charge unless it's over a certain time for unanswered.
Correct.
So they're all answered calls.
He could still have talked on the phone. It could have been anybody.
But what was your story again?
All 3 of those could have been Jen. 10:45. Jay calls Adnan asking for weed. That's when Jay goes over, or that Adnan calls Jay asking for weed. That's when Adnan heads over to Jay's house.
Yes.
12:06
and then he gives Jay the car and phone
to go pick up weed
or a gift.
Well, in my story, he gives it to him to go pick up weed because why would you lend a drug dealer your car to go to the mall?
Now let's kind of touch on that, right? Hold on, sidebar. Who lends their car and cell phone out?
Hey, I want to get weed so I can get messed up this weekend. Hey, I don't have any weed, but if you lend me your car, I'll go pick up a bunch and I'll give you a free eighth.
Interesting.
Jay's not a dealer, by the way. Jay buys weed and hooks his friends up with weed. Jay doesn't deal. That's why the cops laugh at him when he says that he's like a big time thug.
You know, you can have my vote. I'll vote that one. That's a good theory. Would you get that on Reddit?
Yeah.
You cheater. Maybe.
Do you want to go to a vote?
Yeah.
So, would you guys like to have a vote anonymously, or would you like to just list off our votes right now?
So how are we voting on this? Are we voting
just guilty or not guilty?
No,
Okay.
it's gonna go majority wins.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is you don't have to vote according to the law. You have to vote according to what you feel in your gut. You have to vote towards where you're leaning.
What I'm asking, if my word is really putting this guy away for the rest of his life, I have to vote that way, right? Or setting him free?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you want to say it out loud, or do we just want to do an off the air poll?
I'll just say it.
Okay.
I'm cool saying it.
You have to let him go.
So you think he's innocent?
No, but you have to let him go.
So your vote is for guilty, or is your vote for innocent?
What are we? Okay, are we voting on him getting out? Like, should he get out of prison based on these facts, or do we think that he did it? Or do we
We're
think that he
voting
did
on
it?
based off our discussion today.
I think he did it.
Then say guilty.
He's guilty.
Okay, he's guilty.
Yeah.
AJ,
Innocent.
Zach.
Not guilty. Let me give you some reasons right now. All right. One, detectives or whoever is doing all this, maybe they're racist against Muslims. Maybe the guy that Jay gets his weed from, maybe there's harder shit going on there. They say, if you don't take the fall for this, we're going after your family. And then maybe the person that killed her was never caught, because there could be where she was killed at. There's been other crimes like that
Right.
that people have been caught or they haven't been caught.
He brings up a valid point about Baltimore. It's Baltimore.
Yeah.
People die. Like,
Yeah.
snitches get stitches.
They got other killers' DNAs on file. If they would run that, maybe one of them would pop up. Who
That's
knows?
what we
But
were talking about earlier, how they only tested things against Adnan and Jay. They didn't test it against anyone else. It could have been anybody.
So then wouldn't have Jay gotten
In that
pinched
case,
for it?
why would Jay go down that whole rabbit hole of telling that story, though?
What
or
story?
maybe families involved into it. Maybe
That's what I've been hung up the whole time. Why, if Adnan didn't kill her, why was Jay involved? If Adnan did kill her, why was Jay involved? Why was Jay involved? Because he did it. That's where I sit. Zach sits on there's not enough evidence not enough evidence to state that Adnan's guilty, so he's voting not guilty. I think AJ voted not guilty.
Yeah, so you definitely got that one.
You can put it on the board, yes!
So sadly, that's what it comes down to. The whole 2-hour conversation we just had was for a board bet.
Yep, board bet.
If you want to weigh in with your opinion, why don't you tweet at us at Station Pod on Twitter? Tell us what you think. Tell us if you think that we're full of shit or if our arguments hold weight. And hashtag JLies.
We would really like to thank today's guests. Why don't you guys say your goodbyes, kind of close it out, and if you want, you could say your Twitter and all that stuff.
All right, AJ, signing out here. Thanks for having me a part of the show. It was a pleasure to argue both ways, and now I'm even more confused on this case than before. So
That's what
thanks for helping me
happens.
out with that.
As you go down the rabbit hole, it just
Yeah.
nothing ever gets clear.
Here's the thing is, man, it's human life, and I just feel bad saying one way or another, because I don't know all the facts, and they didn't have enough facts to tell me.
Right.
Oh no, I think I have the balls to do what Sara Koenig wouldn't do, and that's say that Jay's guilty.
My name's Zach. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Pesci's Balls, or Instagram ZachHall06. With evidence provided, Jay's guilty, but also with the evidence provided, I don't think either of them are guilty. So not enough is there, really.
So you're in the same place as everybody.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat. But either way, I would like to thank them for coming on and enduring this long, probably boring conversation for a lot of you. But, I mean, it was something that we felt we needed to touch on because it was such a wide phenomenon. It's over 68 million downloads for this podcast. That's really kind of crazy. So, again, thank you guys for coming on. For AJ, Zach, Jay, I'm Nate. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good week.